new comic book day book club is back. And we took a week off last week for some criminal discussions with Jason from Comics Misexplained, but we're back now with White Whale Comics.
I wouldn't call your discussions criminal. That's kind of self-deprecating.
You need to watch more of my channel and you'd know. With some amazing hair, though. Look at that, man. Wow. Just incredible.
One word for it.
And we're here for book club. We're going to talk about a bunch of different books today. Specifically, if you saw the thumbnail, and I know that Dr. Venkman saw it, we were talking about Rorschach. First up on the docket. Ooh, that's a cool one. Nice wang. Is that a wang?
Well, I don't know. It's a Rorschach test. You see what you want to see, right?
I do see what I want to see. Then. And Alec and I both got We Live from Aftershock, so that might come up as well. If anybody in the chat got the new indie that I thought was maybe the indie of the week, for me at least. So some fun books to talk about this week. But how's your week going so far?
It's going okay. I've been working a lot, so I'm tired.
Late nights. I know. This show is pretty late. We could do a 6 o'clock my time, 9 o'clock your time. Preempt.
Yeah, that gives me less time to read comics.
This is true.
Yeah, because I get home around 7 o'clock usually.
Hello to Kurt, Comics on the Mind, Soul Brother. He says he can't wait to. Just I want to say first, can't stay. He wants to read. It was a great read. Sorry, Tom King got him sucked in quick. Boom. Dr. Venkman said, I read this book twice, and I'm just like, it felt like a bunch of nothing possibly leading to something. Understand that. Todd Christian, hello to you. And Superman's here. Come on.
Oh, wow. Made the big time.
I feel so honored. He, came out of the Fortress of Solitude. Or maybe he's sitting in the Fortress of Solitude watching.
Yeah, maybe.
That would make more sense. Hey, yo, to Comic Man Andy.
Hey, yo.
Comics from the previous show we were just on. How you guys doing?
Do you think that they come over from the other show just to be like, well, they know that we're not doing anything else. We have to at least say hi.
We have to make an appearance.
We have to pretend to watch.
It's that party you go to and then sneak out when it's really going.
Right.
Hello, Legion of Comics. He said this book opened strong. It's very exciting right off the bat, for sure. So let's talk a little Rorschach. New Tom King. So it's a Tom King book. We are somewhat of a Tom King fan group here. The Strange Adventures is going on right now. I've been enjoying that. We've talked about Vision and Mr. Miracle a ton, even Tom King Batman. So Rorschach, he's diving into the Rorschach world with, Jorge Fornes as the artist for this. I got the cover A. You got the what is it cover?
I don't know. All they had was the variant and this left over when I got to my shop, and I didn't like the variant cover. I think I forget. Baby J. Lee did it. I like his stuff, but it just didn't grab me. But this is just like a very subtle Rorschach test cardboard, like cardstock cover. It's nice, like almost a blank cover.
Yeah, almost exactly. Hello, Beta Rape Jim. Thank you for coming by.
The insides are still the same.
Oh, okay. So it's not like you can make up your own copy.
Well, actually, I actually don't know that because I only opened this one. It might be a totally different book that I read.
How would you know?
Well, I guess we're about to find out when we start discussing it, and you're going to say, well, that didn't happen in this book.
I don't remember a giant wang in my book. Cover A for himself as well. He thought it was an amazing John Yang exclusive. Ooh. He got is that the one with like the creepy face super close up? That was kind of weird looking. Like it looked like a bag over somebody's face. So yeah, let's dive into this Rorschach. What are your grading or thinking right off the bat here on this?
This is going to sound worse than I think the book actually was, but I'm going to give it a 5 for now.
Okay.
Because much like who said it up here? RDV said it felt like a bunch of nothing, possibly leading up to something. Like clearly it's a murder mystery. It's a investigation story with this cop or whoever he is trying to look into what happened at this presidential rally event. But beyond that, like, I don't know what this book is about yet.
No. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I would say 5 sounds right up the alley where I would go.
I didn't not enjoy it. It didn't. I don't know. Maybe I missed something, but it didn't.
I would say I did not enjoy it.
Okay.
So maybe I'm a little harsher on it. I just I love the original Watchmen story, obviously, and I love the film. Sorry, the show that they made last year. Incredible. I even enjoy the film. I don't hate on the film or anything. This just seems, all the other stuff that DC has done with it, I felt like it's kind of useless. Like,
yeah,
I don't need it.
Sure, it's like one of the, what people kind of consider one of the best comics of all time. Like, why do anything? Like, you are not going to be able to achieve. And that's kind of a silly argument, I guess, because that could say that about a lot of stuff where, all people have put out great X-Men or Spider-Man stories. Why bother trying to write anything else?
Well, I mean, it would also negate the existence of the TV series from last year, which was one of the best TV shows seasons of a show I've watched in, years. And that was clearly somebody deciding, I want to do something with this universe,
Right. And to the creator's credit, this did not feel at all like Watchmen.
No.
It wasn't like, oh, you're trying to do the same thing, which is good, because I think if you're going to try to tackle something as big in the world of comics as Watchmen, like, you can't try to just copy Watchmen, because it's just, and like, I am not the biggest Watchmen fan. Like, I read it, I like it, I enjoy it, but it's not like top 10 for me, where a lot of people consider it to be, like I said, the best comic ever written. It's just not really my personal style, but I recognize its importance and how good it is, like, on an objective level.
Sorry, I figured I should put a banner up so people don't pop in and say, what book are you guys talking about? Yeah, for me, I really do like Watchmen a bunch. I like the idea, and it was an original idea, I guess, at the time, of looking at the superhero mythos and kind of deconstructing it and saying, let's not idealize. Let's have real people in these situations and look at it from the perspective of the lens of history and humanity, and then punch those buttons and see what you get,
Yeah.
And obviously it's been done a ton since then. I mean, The Boys and Umbrella Academy are just the newest versions of that theme. Incredibles and whatever else you want to go. Powers is a great series I read.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's a universe that's been now wholly exposed and explored. Like, there's no unexplored wilderness there anymore. So for me, it's like the real question is, like, why go back? Like, what is it you want to discuss or show or say? And this book has nothing to say.
I mean, so far, I also complain a lot about, on this show specifically, about how a lot of books kind of cram too much into a first issue to kind of like grab you and keep you going, and they don't care about pacing. And clearly this Tom King is, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that this is going somewhere, which I don't think is too far of a stretch, because he's a professional writer, and he, like, whether or not you're a fan of him, he's not going to write a story about nothing. This isn't Seinfeld. But so I feel like it's paced interestingly, that if it goes somewhere, it might read really well in a trade.
But I think he is a deliberate plotter. He doesn't necessarily do things frivolously. But my issue is, usually the books I've read from him, I connect with characters right off the bat.
Yeah.
And there's none of that here. I don't care or connect with anybody. I couldn't name any character in this except Rorschach.
Yeah.
And he's dead. Spoiler alert, he dies in the first couple seconds. If it's him,
or does he?
Murder mystery, and we don't know.
Yeah, right.
So for me, I I have no interest in reading any more of this. And I usually like Tom King a bunch. And I'm sure it might be something that I want to read like digitally when it's free on an app later on. But I'm not buying any more of these issues.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not either. I'll read it when it comes out in trade if it turns out people are saying it's really good. But this did not make me want to buy another issue of this book, especially if they're all $5.
Holy crap! Yeah, the new price point for comics is definitely putting a crimp on my desire to buy more.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It was cool that they made the TV show canon with this book. That was a part of this comic. There was definitely comments on things like Robert Redford as president, stuff that connected with the show a little bit more that I thought was kind of interesting. Yeah. Todd says he enjoyed Watchmen and respects what Moore did, but his Swamp Thing is much better. Never read any of his Swamp Thing.
Yeah, it's good.
So there you go. Art wise, did you have any thoughts on the artwork? We didn't talk about Jorge Fornes.
I thought the art was good. It didn't like blow my socks off, but it was good. Like it was solid. It fit the story. It was well done, told the story well, but like there weren't really any panels that I was like, oh wow, that's it was solid.
Serviceable, I would say.
I'd say for me it was better than serviceable, but it wasn't remarkable.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So there you go, folks. I mean, we're 11 minutes in and we've kind of done the whole book.
But I mean, that's kind of like, I think that's appropriate to how it felt to me, is that like 11 minutes into an hour-long program and we're like, that's all we have to say about it.
Well, and I think that's why we were excited to slightly adjust the format of the show to allow for...
So we didn't have to stretch out talking about this book for 45 minutes.
This is a stinker, and we're not going to spend an hour talking about it when we could talk about other things as well. So
yeah, and Drew Manchu, who always likes to refer to us as Tom King fanboys, well, guess what? We just kind of dumped on a Tom King book. So
yeah, this might be my least favorite Tom King book I've ever read.
Yeah, I would say so.
I felt like his Batman was a little uneven near the end, but I greatly enjoyed like more than half of that. And I was interested even in the issues that I was like, this is quote unquote batshit crazy. I still enjoyed it. Like this, I was bored with this pretty much the whole time. Curious how Tom King will incorporate his reading of Hannah Arendt's The Origins of Totalitarianism and the Cult of Personality and Aftershock of Terrorism. I sense that's where he's going with this. Wow.
Gore-Vidal, always coming through with the big brain.
You saw some layers here that maybe I didn't care to see.
Yeah,
I was too busy bored.
Maybe we're just not clever enough. Legion of Comics says, "Come on, guys, it's part 1 of a 12-issue series." Yeah, and I mean that's why I'm saying that it'll probably read better in trade, because Tom King tends in his miniseries to have a very good overall like encompassing type of plan for the whole thing. So it very well may end up being a great story. It's just this issue didn't grab me in a way that I want to buy 11 more issues of this series. But I like Tom King enough that when it comes out in trade, I will want to probably read the whole thing. I just it didn't like leave me wanting more at the moment. And especially when it's going to be $60 retail to buy all the issues.
And that's my feeling as well. Is like I will go a step further and sort of say this is the weakest issue number 1 I've read from him, and I'm not going to slow burn this through 11 more issues. I don't have any interest in that. As much as I like Tom King, I'm just not going to slow burn that. It's just too much. I mean, I'm enjoying Strange Adventures, but that's enough of a slow burn for me. This feels like on a whole other layer of slow. So that's just me.
Yeah.
Should we jump over to We Live from
the
Miranda brothers at Aftershock Comics? I want to show the fold-out cover that this one's got. because this is cool. Let's see. I go. Is it this one? That's this one. So this is a cool fold-out cover. Nice cardstock. Wait, let's lift that and tilt that. There you go. Beautiful cover. This is actually what sold me on the book. Was I was in my shop looking around. I saw this cover, and they told me that it was a fold-out. They let me open it up, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm good.
Yeah, still $5 as well, though.
Yeah,
but at least you get a fold-out cover.
Cardstock, and I thought the artwork I skimmed the artwork, and I was like, I like it. Let's go. Sorry, go back to this.
It's all right. You can leave me small. No one wants to see my face. So I have to address something off the bat.
Go ahead.
Is that I had a bit of an existential panic attack when I opened to the first page.
The relatability?
Well, because there is a QR code in the bottom right that says white whale above it.
Oh, wow. I didn't even notice that. Holy crap.
That is the first thing I saw, and I said, is this for me? And I was I actually was hesitant for a second to scan it to see where it took, because if it took me to my own YouTube page, I was just gonna pack my bags and move away.
All of a sudden, your camera turns on.
Yeah,
automatically.
It did not. It took me to a YouTube video of a soundtrack for the issue.
Got you. With a band named White Whale.
I guess so. There's another QR code in the last page too, but yeah. So
that's John's Comics with Kids.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. So yeah, that kind of freaked me out a bit. Yeah.
I will follow you. So it says White Whale. I will follow you.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
Thought about you.
Good advice. Good advice for everyone watching this. You should follow me.
Thank you, new guy Ryan, for coming by. Yeah, we're talking about We Live from Aftershock Comics. So the plot for We Live, for those that did not pick it up, I really kind of dig this idea. Post-apocalyptic dystopian future, several plagues later down the line, several revolutions down the line, and humanity is holding on by a thread, and aliens come from outer space, and they say they will take 5,000 children to start a new life on a better planet somewhere else. And the children can bring along one companion. And they all have, the rule is they have to find a special bracelet and meet at a specific point at a specific time if they want to go.
Correct.
And our story basically follows a bus of kids trying to make it to one place.
So I before we get too far into this review, I do have to say that I did an experiment reading this book.
Which was
when I realized that the first 4 or 5 pages were just an information dump about the backstory of the world. I skipped all of that and started reading the book without it to see if I could follow along what was happening without that information. And the only thing I didn't get was that aliens had sent the message for the kids. So my initial criticism of the book is that those 5 pages could have been much better used in the story than to just dump us with information.
Or do the thing that we loved in some other Image books that we saw this year, where they finished with the Hickman info dump.
Right, where it's like when the after notes, where it's like, hey, you want to know more about this world? Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the graphic for it, and we'll give you a page of info dump. I will say I didn't mind it because of the way they did it as a commercial announcement that the old guy's watching on his TV.
Yeah, it didn't feel like unnatural in the story where a character is just talking
all the kids look like
Fallout, like Fallout characters.
I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, it didn't feel like some of those issues where like characters are just explaining to other characters that already know what's happening, what's happening in the world. So it was a clever way to get around that, but I felt that it was unnecessary, and I felt that there were points in the story that could have used an extra page or two to kind of pace it better. So, having said that, I will review the book as if those were not in it.
And Ryan, I will say I never read the solicits for the most part, especially with issue number ones. I really just look at either the creative team or I look at some artwork and kind of decide if I want to give it a shot. So I'm never spoiled by the solicits for the most part. The chibi presentation at the beginning, yeah. Oh, and he listened to the music, so he used the little code and listened to the music. There you go. So there you go. All right. So having skipped that, what would you score it without that dump?
Like a 7.
And with the info dump, it's hard to grade it. You wouldn't know.
Well, I went back and read the info dump afterwards.
Okay.
I feel like I am including my 7 with the info dump because it is part of the book. If it did not have the info dump and they added a few extra pages of story, it might have been a 7.5, 8, depending on how they handled it. But that's hard to say because it's speculative.
Exactly. I would probably give it an 8 for me. I really got into the idea in general, and I like the way elements are laid out. I like some of the characters. Even in issue 1, I feel like I get to know them enough that I actually care what's going on with them. I know I've read a ton of issue 1s where I'm like, I don't feel like I know any of these characters' names. I mean, I'm still that way in We Only Find Them When They're Dead. I feel like I'm still trying to figure out who those characters are, and I'm 2 issues in on that one.
I guess like my biggest problem where I feel like they could have used some extra pages is that I didn't get the tension of their bus ride. Like they're just going along and then they stop and they get attacked by the mutanoids, and then they are back in the bus and all of a sudden they're in the middle of a storm. And I know they reference the storm, so you know it's coming, but I feel like, you know, if the guy driving the bus kind of like saw the mutanoids ahead of time, or that they were trying to outrun the storm, or like something that build the tension to those moments of excitement, right, that I feel like were kind of lost for me.
Gotcha. And I could see a little bit of the plotting or the pacing issue where I felt like stuff was slow in spots where I wanted it to be heard quicker, and I wanted them to slow down and draw things out in other portions that they didn't. So I think the pacing was probably the main reason it's not a higher grade than an 8 for me. But for me, the artwork and characterizations were good enough that that's what hooked me on this one.
Yeah. No, artwork was cool. I didn't like. I thought it was, I don't want to say inconsistent because it wasn't, but I didn't really care for how the kids were drawn compared to how like the monsters and like the old guy was drawn. I feel like
I want to get into that. Yeah.
Stylistically, I liked everyone drawn better than the kids. I just didn't like their faces as much.
Yeah. The kids look very like cartoony anime.
Yeah, right. Nothing else does.
Versus like all the detail that's clear. Oh, I'll just blow this up a little bit. Sorry. All the detail that seems to go into the background and the settings has this huge amount of like all the detail in this little like house thing. You know, I feel like there's a ton of effort put in, and then you get a drawing of the characters, and you know they come off as very flat. So I just that bugged me. That was probably the only thing that bugged me, just because the disparity was so stark. But once I got used to that element, I kind of just let it go as like, okay, that's the style. Let the style flow over you.
But I liked how the big countdown clock you could like see in the background a lot of shots, or it shows its prominence and how important it is in this world. So there are a lot of like nice details in the art. I feel like I wish the kids had been drawn a little differently.
Yeah, I could see that. The beasts are really, I mean, the detail in all the little beasts.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, you wouldn't think that was in the same book as the drawings of the kids.
It's just wild. And whatever the car that they're all like taking apart. So
And yeah,
I love
new
it's on the cover too. On this cover,
yeah.
the style is there as well, in that you have like this beautiful epic background, and then the kids are very different style even right here.
And like it's not that unusual if they are going for an anime feel for like backgrounds, and a lot of higher quality animes are like super detailed and well rendered, and then the characters are, anime characters. So if they were going for that, they needed to stay consistent with all of the people and animals and stuff, but I feel like they didn't.
That's interesting.
But New Guy says it was heavier than I expected, but it delivered on the elements I wanted. Yeah, like it definitely. A couple of comments up.
Okay.
It definitely like the scene where they stop and they're attacked by the mutanoids, whatever they're called, and the little girl gets scratched, and she like turns quick.
Yeah.
It seems. And he like bundles her up and ties her up, and one of the guards says, this will be the first time I shoot a child. And the old guy says, give me the revolver. And he says, this is no longer a child, and just shoots her like completely unfazed. That was a moment where I'm like, oh, okay, so this book is not just about a couple of kids in the apocalypse. Like this is a book about like surviving the apocalypse.
Definitely.
So that was interesting. But yeah, then so after that very dramatic scene, the next page is them in the middle of a lightning storm and the bus getting turned over. And like there's that was the big moment for me for pacing, was like, okay, we just had this really heavy moment that we don't get to sit on at all, because the next page is them just in utter turmoil out of seemingly nowhere.
Yeah. So hello to Chaos in Comics. He's just joined us, and hello to Lost in Comics as well. Rorschach was a solid number 1, but clearly you'll just scratch the surface.
You've already missed our whole conversation about it, because
we crapped all over it, and I'm not a fan, and I'm not reading issue 2. And Alec is the same. Might be reading the trade. I don't even know if I want to read the trade at this point. I don't.
I feel like you crapped all over it a lot more than I crapped over it,
which is a rarity.
Yeah, I felt slightly indifferent to it.
And I officially, hello, Lost in Comics. I clicked on your name. But we're on to We Live now. And I'm far more interested in a second issue of this. I'm definitely going to get issue 2 personally. How are you feeling on that?
I'm probably not.
Okay.
I mean, and however, I will say that I'm really trying to keep my pull list down these days. So, a couple of years ago, probably I would pick up a second issue because I liked it enough. But these days, it has to be something that is like a 9+ for me to say, okay, I'm going to keep reading this month to month.
Gotcha. He says all of Aftershock is trade waiting for him. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, if this turns out to be something that like you or someone else I know, or a review I read of it says like, oh, this turns out to be a really great series, the first 6 issues, I'll probably read a trade because I'm interested enough in it. But
right.
Yeah, I don't know. It just it didn't like leave me at a place where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to find out what happens next. Like I enjoyed the book enough, and I feel like it was a solid enough to read, but because it was 4.5 pages shorter than a normal book for me, because I didn't read the beginning, I also felt like it was a little short.
Sure, that makes sense. I feel like we blew through 2 books in 30 minutes.
Well, hey.
We're slaying it here.
Doing things fast is kind of my specialty.
That's what she said.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
So those were I would say the 2 that we both read this week. I grabbed all the Ten of Swords books this week as well, and I will say I enjoyed them all, but that the story in New Mutants and the hilarity of Mr. Sinister in Hellions are the highlight. And I was telling Alec before we went live that if nothing else, if you're a Mr. Sinister fan, you thought he was funny in House of X or Powers of 10, read Hellions issue 5, because Mr. Sinister slays in that, and he is on fire. So that would be probably my laugh of the week would be Hellions 5.
Mr. Sinister catches fire. That's spoiler alert territory right there.
Oh man, we are on.
What are we still doing? Greatest comic book show ever over here.
New Mutants was very good too, because it was really about, I don't know Cypher that well, the mutant Cypher, but it was a lot about him having to fight with the Warlock sword, Warlock the mutant, and not knowing how to do it and being trained a little bit by magic and realizing that if he goes in on this fight, he's going to die. And another mutant tells him, well, a good way to get you out of this fight is if I kill you before the fight, and they can resurrect you later on, but we'll have to pick a replacement for you during the fight.
I mean, hey, that's some strategizing.
So it's an interesting strategy. There's a ton more to that New Mutants book. That's not like a huge spoiler, but it was interesting, the dilemmas and how you try to solve it when Cypher knows that, or at least he feels confident that if he goes into this fight, he's going to get his ass handed to him.
Well, you got to know your strengths.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. He's like C-3PO. He's a translator droid. That's his job. He's fluent in 6 million forms of communication.
And just as much of a coward, apparently.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. Sword fighting is not one of the languages. Other than that, I got Strange Adventures from Tom King. Still reading that. And I got Once and Future issue 11, I think it is. 12, sorry. Issue 12. Oh man, look at the ripples on that thing if you want
to. Has that really been coming out for a year, or is they released it faster?
No, it's been a year. It's been
Jesus.
a year. Yeah. We're getting to the end of this year, and Boom Studios for me was all about last year,
Yeah.
So last year was all the, East Berlin and Something School of Children and that one.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. It's a wonder how a pandemic will make the year fly by.
Right. Just a special note. Next week is our 2-year anniversary.
Speaking of time flying.
Right.
Jeez.
I know the first anniversary is paper, and we do a lot of AOKs, so I guess we're good on that one. I don't know what second anniversary is. Is it wood?
I don't know. Let's check.
That would be apropos of our typical comedy. New guy says, really? So worth grabbing? What's he talking? I don't know if he's talking about which Mutants book he's talking about, but I'm enjoying generally all of them. I will say Cable is the one I enjoyed least this week.
It's Cotton.
Cotton. Well, hey, I bought your shirt. Does that count?
There you go. Sure.
There you go. My LCS owner loved his
nice
tank top, by the way. He's got the 9.8, but it just he's bummed it doesn't have all the writing on the back. I was like, yeah, I'll buy you a regular shirt next time you just cut the sleeves off.
Cut the sleeves off.
Yeah. New Mutants was a fun read. I agree. Missed out on Hellions for the first time. This is a really good one. I would say, Todd, if you've enjoyed it, you should pick it up. Mr. Sinister had me laughing a bunch. Absolutely. Hellions was great. Yeah, I agree. So next week we're on Alex's channel, and I think we're going to do a little bit of a unusual book club. We might still talk about a book or two that we want to mention, but for the most part, we might talk about looking back,
Yeah, blast from the past.
This is your life.
A retrospective.
So it could be a kind of little fun look back at all that, all the books we've crapped on for 2 years.
Yeah, we kind of were saying like, oh, maybe we should pick our 5 favorite books, and like, ooh, that might be tough.
I got one, I think.
Yeah, I got one off the top of my head.
It's definitely not a Guardians of the Galaxy because we've read 3 number ones, I think.
Yikes, have we really? I know we've done at least 2.
I know we did 2, but we might have done like an issue 2 or something at one point.
Oh yeah, I think so. You're right.
I think we did another. We did a little more Guardians than I think we wanted to.
Yeah, some weeks it was just like, well, I guess we're doing this book this week because there's slim pickings.
Well, crap. Hello, Magic Lasso. Thank you for coming by, man. Thank you.
But yeah, since it's on my channel, I feel okay saying that if anyone who has been a guest before wants to hop on and chat with us,
I would
by all means, just hit me up on Instagram, and I'll be sure to send you the invite next week.
Yeah, we'll just let people jump in, tell us about the book they read, tell us how we made them cry afterwards for wasting their money on it, and then we'll move on to the next guy. The negative Nancy in most comic groups. I'm glad you guys exist.
Because we're worse, or because you can feel like, oh, somebody else is also as critical as we are.
It's that anti-joy equation. We all need it.
Equation.
Right?
Yes, sir.
A New Mutants omnibus. I'm not ready for a second omnibus at this point. One has broke the bank for me, so I'm good for now. Although I have to buy the part 2 of this volume here soon at some point. So then I will have 2. Ah, crap.
You're gonna be like Gem Mint before you know it.
Oh, jeez. As long as it's Claremont, I probably will just keep going. We're going to wrap up and get out of here. Alec, were there other books that you picked up this week you wanted to mention or hold up?
Yeah, I got Grendel, Kentucky 2. I bought Strange Adventures. I just haven't read anything else besides these 2 books this week, so I can't really say
Are you up
much
on
about
Strange Adventures, or are you reading it in chunks?
No, I'm not up on anything. If we haven't talked about it on book club, I haven't read it in like the last couple months or 6 months.
Well, then, hey, you got a week off. You read whatever you want for next week. How about that?
All right, it sounds like a plan.
He's gonna come.
I'm gonna go back and reread Ghost Spider #1.
Oh, fuck. That's a callback joke to the very
first episode. Yep.
Very first episode of the show is Ghost Spider.
Yeah, we should have known it was going to be great after we decided to read Ghost Spider #1 for our first episode.
We started off so strong. Whale is usually 1 or 2 points more critical than me. John is usually on par. Okay, there you go.
That sounds about right. I mean, there are few people who are as critical as me.
Except tonight when I was the one hard deucing on this book.
But if any of you have seen my first episode about how I'm trying to self-publish a book, you know that I am harder on myself than I am on anyone else. So it's not that I think that like my opinion is greater or that I know more. It's just that I hold everyone to a high standard.
There you go. Or at least a lesser version of the same standard.
Yeah, maybe.
That you hold yourself to. All right, so then that's it for tonight, folks. We're 2 and then we're done. I'm dropping an edited video like first thing tomorrow morning. I think something like 8:30 or 9 o'clock Eastern time. So super early. It's my look at what's coming out next week and what I'm buying, and it's a lighter week for me in general. Heavier on Marvel than usual, but you have a very light week. So you can check that out first thing in the morning. I think it's like 6 or 7 minutes long, not a whole lot. And then I am not on a live stream until Saturday. I am doing a bunch of stuff this weekend. So, but I still will be around doing some shows like D&D on Sunday night. And then we're back on next Wednesday on your channel. Is there anything going on for you besides D&D on Sunday night and book club a week from today?
Negative.
Hard pass.
Yeah. If you're not into one of those 2 things and you're are subscribed to my channel, you're probably going to be sorely disappointed.
It's all right. My subs are often that way.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably going to be sorely disappointed anyway, but if you're looking for additional content, you're going to be even more sorely disappointed.
Gore Vidal, that sounds like the greatest sports movie I'd ever want to watch. I'm not a football fan, so let's pull the plug. Let's do it.
Just cut off somebody's nose despite their face.
Get her done. Just get her done. Okay, so we are going to get out of here. I think I somehow ended up heavily critical, but mostly positive. There you go. That's an interesting paradigm. All right. We're out of here. Everybody have a great new comic book day, and we will see you back on his channel for our 2-year anniversary next week.